Speaking of reservations and pre-orders, we're going to go back into Red Dead Redemption 2. We're going to be talking about that a little bit, and more so, we talked about
Life on the
we talked about the
reservation.
trailer a little bit, and we kind of hinted at what it was. We already got that kind of out of the way. I want to have more of a discussion of like, what do you think this game's going to be as a complete game, and what do you think? Where do you think the story's taking place? So for me personally, there's a lot of stuff in it that seems like it takes place after Red Dead Redemption. A lot more industry. There's a lot more electrical. Obviously, there's electrical lines, and there's like a lot of powered lights, and it seems like it's a lot more. I don't know. It seems like a little bit later on, right, in the timeline. And the whole story of Red Dead Redemption is that it's the Western meeting up with modern civilization, kind of the industry and everything like that. And people said, like, why would they go forward? Because that'd be closer to GTA. But I think even going past that to where the industry is already pushing the countryside, right? The kind of the way that the United States was industrialized was kind of from like an east to west kind of way. And it would make sense that the industry kind of nature of the world was taking place as these guys, these cowboys, were still trying to live life as a cowboy, and now it's kind of brushing up on them, right? I think that's why there's such an emphasis on the environment, because I think as the game progresses, you're going to feel as if, yeah, this is the environment going away. These are the plains going away. This is what we realize as like a cowboy lifestyle going away. And the line that he says, I don't think it's so much of like a villain. I think it's of like industrial revolution. Like I think it's of the man coming in and stopping the cowboy nature of things. Like you see this happening, run, don't look back. I think it's just kind of keep that true sense of that cowboy spirit, as Donald Trump would say, that those bad hombre spirits. Um, so yeah, I think it's gonna be a sequel, not a direct sequel. I think it's gonna have different characters, but yeah, I'm pretty interested to see what's going on. What about you guys?
So, first thing I got to point out, everyone seems to be like all distraught and confused over it being called Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'm thinking like that seems the most obvious to me because this is the second Red Dead Redemption game. Might be the
Yeah,
third Red Dead game, but it's only Red Dead Redemption 2. I don't know.
yeah.
That's the way I thought
Yeah,
about it. Everyone's like it seemed like most people thought it should be called 3. I was like, why
Well,
would
I definitely think more people were upset about this naming convention than Battlefield 1, which is quite
yeah,
surprising.
That's a good
Uh,
point.
yeah, like if you're gonna talk shit about somebody, like
Yeah.
maybe the fact that this is like the eighth Battlefield game and it's called Battlefield 1, but um, personally, I think that's just kind of like a dumb internet squabble. Like nobody's gonna give a shit about that in 6 months.
Yeah, well, no one. That's not going to affect sales or anything in any
Yeah,
regard. So it's
yeah.
just a silly little thing people like to talk about.
I don't know, Dom. There's probably some hardcore Red Dead Revolver fans out there that are pretty fucking ticked right now.
Well, I
Um,
mean, maybe in a couple years they'll make Red Dead Revolver 2.
well,
Why
yeah,
not? You know what I mean? That's how I
but
see
also
it.
I think that Red Dead Redemption 2, Red Dead Redemption was such a far away kind of game from Red Dead Revolver, and I think naming it Red Dead
yeah,
Redemption 2 doesn't necessarily mean it takes the same story elements or the same characters, but it's still in that same vein. It's a big open world. If you played Red Dead Revolver, you played Red Dead Redemption, it's closer to Redemption than Revolver. I think if they're to name it something else,
yeah,
it may maybe to be a new type of experience. So I think they're trying to keep in that vein. So
sure.
as far as the setting, do you guys think this is a prequel, sequel, different characters?
I
What do you guys think?
I really have no idea. Maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention to the trailer and the environments within, but I didn't feel like it felt closer to the Industrial Revolution. But I also didn't feel like it felt, farther back in the past in the
Yeah.
1800s. So um, I probably, like I said, just wasn't paying close enough attention to that specific point. Either way, I think um, you're not going to be playing as John Marsden. I think you might be playing as his son or his father or some crap like that, but I definitely don't think that you're going to be playing as him. Um, I feel like um, whether it is a prequel or a sequel, I think there's still plenty of stories to be told. Like you said, Jared, it'd be a really cool concept to have kind of this cowboys getting pushed out of their lifestyle type of deal, or it'd be even cooler to have like a Civil War type thing going on, where almost like how the main protagonist of Mafia 3 just came back from, I think, Vietnam when you get started in that game. It'd be really interesting if they go back into the 1800s where This guy just got done with the Civil War and then decides to move out west because he's just not about that whole North versus South conflict anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that there's just it's ripe for storytelling either side of 1910 wherever you go.
So the reason I felt that it was more towards the Industrial Revolution is because there's a lot more power lines, and that's a dumb concept, I guess, to look at. But when you see the train, there's electrical lines going throughout. There's a lot more windmills, obviously, but even when they show the store, there's an electrical line with a light plugged in, and it seems a lot more advanced than Red Dead Redemption. That could be because of the tech they had in that game, and they couldn't get as detailed, right? But the other thing is that on one of the shots, right before the guy actually talks, it looks like an oil plantation. It looks there's like smoke, and there's like these pillars and these pyres, and it looks like it's an oil plantation, and it would make sense that these cowboys are kind of sabotage this oil plantation because it is the industrial kind of lifestyle moving into where they are, and they kind of want to get rid of that. They want to push it away. Another interesting concept people are saying, and because there isn't no protagonist in this trailer, is what if these 7 guys are the bad guys? Like what if these are all the antagonists, like we talked about before, and what if you are some different character? I really don't think I'll put 100% bet that you're not going to be John Marston. As far as being the kid, maybe. Yeah. But I really, one of the other guesses is that you go back to the gang that John Marston used to be a part of. That doesn't make sense to me either, just because I don't think that people, like, as good of a character as he is, I think people would much enjoy a different story in a Western, I think having like a character arc through a Western is kind of weird. I think having these individual stories of how the Western changed and how the cowboy lifestyle changed, I think that's a lot more Rockstar's style. Rockstar style, and they always
trademark that.
They always have a message in their games, and I think the message is
how the West was lost.
Yeah, and I think this message is how the cowboy died. Physically,
I think,
and
one thing that is quite interesting to me is they're kind of, we really only have 2 pieces of media that they've shown us of this game besides the leaked map that we know of. But they've showed us the picture on Twitter and then this trailer. The picture on Twitter has all, 7 guys walking through on the horizon. And then I don't know if you see all 7, but you see multiple of those characters from that picture in this trailer. So I definitely think, now I don't think that they're pointing to that to talk about the online aspect. I think this is all about the single player, and so I really think you're going to have companions around during the single player campaign. In the first game, you have people around in most of your missions. That's actually how you get your missions, is through the different characters. But you are John Marston alone out in the West and doing his thing, and it's not a band of brothers type of deal. So I think that they're going to be leaning heavy on that for the story.
Interesting thing too is in the Twitter picture of these 7 people, on the far right is a Native American looking guy. 100% looks Native American. He looks like he has a bald head. He looks like he has a hatchet or some kind of tomahawk in his pocket. In the trailer, the end shot where they're all 7 riding their horses, I believe I was watching the Easy Allies reaction. They did a slow-mo, and the person on the far right looks like a female. Looks like a female riding a horse with a gun. So it's interesting that character isn't the same, and maybe there are more than 7 characters, and maybe they are playing off of the Magnificent Seven. It's such an ingrained thing in Western culture. It's been, what was it, Seven Samurai, or what is the movie that the Magnificent Seven's based on? The OG film that everyone loves.
Yeah, that's right.
And then maybe they're just playing on that because they want people to feel that this is a Western game, and maybe it has nothing to do with the number 7. Maybe it's just this is the best way to market that mission. So I don't know. We'll see.
Well, Jared, I think it'd be a mighty fine idea to have a cowgirl going through this story with you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And they're really good at diversifying their cast, so it was weird not to see a female in that Twitter picture. There was a Native American. Some people are speculating one of the guys was one of the Mexican characters from Red Dead Redemption, so we'll see. In the last couple of minutes before we head on to the last topic here, Red Dead Online, they filed a trademark. It's going to be a thing. I don't know why people are kind of speculating on this. It is a thing. GTA Online was a thing. It made him tons of money, gave longevity, legs to GTA 5. Red Dead Online is going to be a thing. It's going to be crazy. Hopefully there's you can make your own posse of cowboys and go out there and, I don't know, do cowboy stuff. But the thing to me that I want to talk about that we kind of talked about before the show is that I really think that this online feature of Rockstar's games is killing their single player DLC. And maybe that's not a bad thing because obviously they're making tons of money off of it. But, with GTA 4, we got The Ballad of Gay Tony and Lost and the Damned, which are two of the highest revered pieces of DLC for video games. Red Dead Redemption, we got Undead Nightmare, which people absolutely loved. It actually ended up being released standalone in stores, which is kind of crazy. But then GTA 5 came around. GTA Online came out. Everyone loved it. Everyone played it. Made tons of money. We never saw a single piece of single-player DLC for GTA 5, as amazing as that game was. And I think we're not going to see any single-player DLC for Red Dead. If they're not willing to make that commitment on GTA 5, do you really think they're going to make that commitment on Red Dead? No, I think it's going to be microtransactions. I think they're going to look to make their money through Red Dead Online. What do you guys think? Is the online feature of Rockstar, though it is cool and compelling and kind of a really nice thing for them, do you think it's kind of hurting gamers in a sense?
No, because it's like I said to you earlier, they could do both. They could do one or the other. Like, it's Rockstar that's making this choice. I mean, this is what they want to do. This is their vision, I guess. Whether it's better or worse, I mean, for me, it's worse because I don't really care about online play early and microtransactions. That's something I've never gotten into. I'd rather have the DLC. But I don't think it's like because they're doing Red Dead Online that they can't or won't do DLC. Like, I think they're
Sure.
exclusive from each other.
Red Dead Redemption had online multiplayer.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
not. What I'm saying is like it wasn't what GTA Online was. It wasn't even close to that. It was like a small hub world. There wasn't really a whole lot to do. GTA Online changed the landscape for them of like, oh, this is what we need to focus on. And it's not a bad thing. I played GTA Online. It was fun. I get it. But maybe it is kind of servicing gamers in a way of like, hey, if you love our game enough, here's an online persistent world for you to play in. And if you don't, move on to another game. So I mean, that's not what they're saying. They want everybody to play their game forever.
Get the hell out of here.
Like, yeah, maybe we don't need the single player DLC. Maybe for the games that aren't so multiplayer heavily focused, that's where you get your DLCs. And they're like, we're going to give you a solid single player campaign that you play tons of hours, put a bunch of time into, and then there's this online experience you want to continue to play. So maybe single player DLC isn't what they want to do.
So maybe for GTA 5 maybe they had some plans for DLC, but they underestimated how much resources the online component was going to take up. But given how much money they've made on that game and overall, there's not really that excuse of not enough resources. There's really even more so now, but they're like the studio with the least excuse for not having enough resources.
But also online took like a month to launch, and heists weren't in the game until a month afterwards, and that was on the box. A year later, that was on the box, and they didn't have heists. So maybe since that tech is already there and they know how to do it,
took them a while.
They can implement that into Red Dead, and it will take less time, and therefore they can focus on a single player campaign. We don't know. We'll see.
Right.
My biggest question with that is just, and this, you guys might just think this is kind of dumb, but for GTA Online, a lot of the microtransactions are like people buying in-game currency because you want like $1 million in game so that you can buy all these cool cars and these cool apartments and clothes and whatever. I'm almost wondering, is there enough stuff in Red Dead Redemption to actually charge for all that? Like, you can only, like the Wild West is very different than like a
modernized city,
like in LA, modernized city. Yeah, so like you can only buy so many different variations of like wagons and carts and horses and stuff. I'm wondering if that I'm sure they could find a way, but I'm just wondering, like, are they even going to be able to charge people like nickel and dime them for these
and
online,
GTA Red Dead
assets?
isn't GTA, so maybe they do want to have a focus on a single player DLC because they know that the legs won't be there for Red Dead, and maybe the legs will be there. We don't know. I agree with you though, Dom, that one doesn't necessarily equal the other. That was just an interesting point to bring up.
Necessarily.
I'm hoping for Undead Nightmare too. I'm not giving up my my dreams for the nightmare, if you know what I'm saying.